There's a phrase that perfectly sums up the INFJ's silent struggle. Nothing I do ever feels enough, but I still have to do it right. Does that sound familiar? INFJs live with a deep sense of how things should be. They don't just want to understand the world. They want to make it better. They want their words to be kind, their actions meaningful, their relationships profound. But that search for perfection, which starts from a good place, can easily become a heavy emotional burden. Because behind an INFJ's perfectionism, there isn't vanity or pride, there's fear of failure, guilt for not meeting expectations, and a deep, almost spiritual need to feel in purpose. Hello and welcome to Psych IQ. On this channel, we publish weekly videos to support introverted, intuitive, and sensitive people, helping them grow both personally and reflectively. Subscribe so you don't miss any future content. In this video, we'll explore where that perfectionism comes from, how it quietly shapes the INFJ's inner world, and most importantly, how to transform it into something healthier, a pursuit of excellence with compassion. An INFJ's perfectionism begins with their unique cognitive wiring, a dance between introverted intuition and extroverted feeling. Their knee looks for hidden meaning and deep coherence. It imagines ideal versions of how life, love, and purpose should be. For the INFJ, things must make sense on a soul level, or they lose their value. Then comes extroverted feeling, which focuses on emotional harmony and the well-being of others. It tries to bring those ideals to life. The result is a mind caught between a perfect vision and the responsibility to realize it. From an early age, many INFJs learn that love must be earned by being wise, helpful, calm, or emotionally stable. So they start living as the good one, understanding, patient, mature, even when they're exhausted inside, and without noticing, they build impossible standards for themselves. Nothing ever feels enough. Every success is temporary. Every mistake feels like a personal failure. INFJ perfectionism doesn't just make them disciplined, it also makes them vulnerable to disappointment. They feel like if reality doesn't match their inner ideal, they've failed. And when that happens, their introverted thinking steps in, analyzing every detail in an endless loop. That's when the cycle begins. Why didn't I do better? Why didn't I feel the right thing? Why couldn't I respond differently? The INFJ starts replaying conversations, choices, or tiny mistakes in their mind, searching for the exact point where things went wrong. What begins as self-awareness turns into self-punishment. Their mind, once their greatest gift, becomes a harsh judge. They dissect every thought, emotion, and silence, and the more they chase perfection, the further they feel from it. At this point, their perfectionism isn't about growth anymore. It's about control. Control over feelings, over failure, over how others perceive them. But control is an illusion. The INFJ's true power isn't in controlling the world. It's in understanding it and transforming from within. When they forget that, their empathy turns into exhaustion, their intuition into noise, and their sensitivity into weight. Healing this perfectionism doesn't mean lowering your standards. It means changing your relationship with imperfection. The INFJ must learn that making mistakes doesn't take them away from their purpose. It brings them closer to their humanity. Their inferior function, extroverted sensing, ECE, holds an important lesson. Life cannot be fully understood. It must be experienced. Integrating this side means learning to live in the present moment, to accept that life is messy, unpredictable, and incomplete, and still meaningful. There are 3 key lessons every INFJ must learn. One of them is to release the guilt of being human. Not everything has to make sense right away. Sometimes simply living through something, even in confusion, is the lesson. Another important lesson is to replace pressure with authenticity. Instead of asking yourself, "Did I do it perfectly?" Ask, "Was I true to myself while doing it?" And finally, we must learn to distinguish between empathy and absorption. Not every emotion you feel belongs to you. Learning to observe without absorbing is emotional freedom. When the INFJ starts to understand these truths, they realize that their perfectionism was never about becoming better. It was about trying to feel worthy. And emotional maturity begins when they see that they don't need to be perfect to be valuable. Letting go of self-imposed pressure doesn't mean giving up on growth. It means learning to grow without punishment. A mature INFJ no longer fights their imperfections. They integrate them. They stop trying to fix every flaw and start understanding what those flaws reveal. They realize they don't need to have all the answers, heal everyone, or always say the right thing. They can rest without guilt, laugh without analyzing, enjoy the moment without explaining it. This shift doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes the INFJ slips back into self-demand, overthinks, or tries to control what can't be controlled. But every time they remember to breathe, to feel, and to accept, they win another quiet victory. Slowly, they reconnect with their truest intuition, that gentle inner voice that doesn't demand or pressure, it simply guides. And when they live from that place, their energy becomes lighter, freer, and more creative. They stop performing for others and start living for themselves, not to reach a perfect ideal, but to enjoy the imperfect process of becoming. INFJ perfectionism is like armor. At first, it protects you, but over time, it becomes your prison. And escaping it doesn't mean breaking it all at once. It means slowly, patiently removing it until you remember who you were underneath. True perfection isn't about never failing. It's about continuing to grow, even with your scars in plain sight. When an INFJ finally understands this, everything changes. They stop seeking validation and start seeking connection. They stop trying to be flawless and start being real. And that's when they truly begin to live. If you're an INFJ, remember, you're not behind, you're not broken, you're simply learning to replace pressure with peace. And that is one of the most powerful transformations you'll ever experience.